But leadership versus management, there is a crossover, but you need to have a clear understanding of who's doing what within your organisation. Without them in place, you run the risk of clashing with everybody.
While most people see problems, entrepreneurs, they see opportunities.
So how are great companies actually made? It's like any great leader, they are not born, they are made, and they're made through experiences. Recently we had James Sinclair on the podcast. I am en route to Glasgow Airport. From Jimbo the Party Man to running a £12 million a year entertainment and leisure business, this week we're joined by James Sinclair, a very credible person when it comes to what makes a great company or how do you build a company and make it successful. And he has a sort of a great way of describing how to build a great business, and that there is E plus M equals success. So E being entrepreneur and the M of course being management equals success. Leadership versus management, and it's a huge topic, something any business owner, if they want to grow their company for revenue, for sales, for profit, for customer services, for their brand and their recognition and their reputation, you have to be thinking about leadership versus management. First and foremost, I just want to put hands up, I am not necessarily a great manager. Okay, I find myself more and more in the leadership role now versus the management role, and that's really where I feel I fit. So we have to be completely self-aware of where we are good at and where we are not so good at. There will be a crossover. You will have times where you need to manage and you will have times where you need to lead, but pick what is right for you. If you are a great leader, then lead, do exactly that, and there's things we're going to talk about that leaders need to do. If you are more into the systems and processes, the manager, you don't necessarily think strategically, you don't get the ideas, but you're a great manager, then go into an organisation and become the best. Every business needs different elements covered. You need people on the ground, the foot soldiers. You then need the senior leadership team. You need the entrepreneur, the visionary behind the company. You need to have the different elements covered. Managers are responsible for the systems and the processes within an organisation. They are the ones that make sure that they are recruiting, hiring, training them properly. When things are a bit shit, they maybe have one-to-ones with their staff and make sure that everybody's motivated, they're following the requirements, hitting the targets, pushing and setting goals and expectations and kind of setting those standards and monitoring them. They're also responsible for making sure there's a sales cycle and a business cycle in place so that everybody knows what happens. No worries, okay then. After we do a deal, this is what happens. It's followed by a telephone call and a sales letter goes out and a thank you letter goes out and the receipt and so on and so on and so on. There is processes in place and the managers make sure that they're happening. They are essential to the processing. If they are not in place, then you are screwed. Meanwhile, you then need an incredible leader. So if we imagine that solopreneur, maybe doing 100 grand a year turnover, maybe a couple hundred grand a year, if that really want to start bringing people on and growing that to the millions, what would you say the three things are that they should be focusing on?
So making sure you're a marketeer of your business, not a doer of your business. So 80% of your time should be spent on getting customers, 20% of your time in your business and operations. Get rid of all low value tasks. Don't think you need to employ a marketing director, a sales director. Think about bringing in someone that does just administration between 9 and 3. That will give you so much more time to be a fantastic marketeer.
Comes a point where you can't bring your business every day. It gets to a size, maybe you've got so many staff, so much turnover, especially if your business is across the country and maybe across the world, and it gets to a stage where you can't bring your business. But initially, whilst you can, 20% of the time, being around your people and inspiring them. You know, being there, and there's going to be troubling times ahead, and when there is troubling times, it's your job as the leader to sort of navigate them through that, to steer the ship. That is the leader's job, to actually make sure that they're guided to safety.
Number 3, make sure that you let everyone know that you're an expert of the thing that you do, so that they're not so price conscious to your business. How can you become an expert? Make sure you win as many awards as you can. Make sure you're putting content out there. Make sure that you market that you're an expert. Use testimonials. Do all of those things. So expertise is one of the key things. If people know you're the ultimate expert, they won't haggle you on price. And most businesses are experts that look average, or average that look average. So stop looking average and stop being average. Be an expert that looks like an expert. So give you an example on this. You go to a dentist, they say, yep, sort that out, it's going to be £2,000. People find the money to do it. They don't haggle with their dentist and go, oh, can you do a deal for me? Because that just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Because they're an expert, and you know they're an expert.
Yeah. Don't get worried about, because you're the one that started the company, you need to be X. You need to be completely self-aware that your skill set may be in a department which you might not like the idea of, but that is where you're best placed to be. And if you don't want to be in that space, then you need to maybe look at hiring people that can cover those gaps for you. If you're not a natural leader, then maybe you need to hire someone in that space. If you don't want to be in the management of it, then you maybe talk about hiring 2 people, hiring a leader to lead your company forward, and also hiring someone to fill that management role which you don't want to do. And that's fine, but you need to be aware of what your skills are and double down. Now, I'm all for brushing up on the places that I need work. Without a doubt, that's important. But what I really focus on is my strengths, and I really double down on them. So that's another thing I would urge you do.
Can we talk about? I want to talk about lessons and get something tactical for the audience. And clearly, there has been challenges for you going through your business. It might have been in the early stages. It might have been recent. Tell me something that was, a real challenge, and I'm more keen on what you learned from it and how you sort of overcame it.
So cash flow is always a challenge in our capital-intensive business. Like for example, right now we make teddy bears. We send £500,000 to China to make teddy bears. We don't get paid till December, January.
Yeah.
That's always a struggle. Most businesses go through, if they can make it, it's like a hockey stick. It's like slowly, and then boom.
Yes.
And it's where the most people stay in the game long enough to get the boom.
Yes.
And that is just the way it is. So always funding, raising finance, that never stops, and that can be a wear down that I.
And I'm so glad you bring that up there, because I've certainly found, although our business is going very nicely, it's always there. You have a great few months and you never need to worry about it, and then it comes back again. You get that little cash flow thing. You need to rally together.
Yeah.
Do you find after 10 plus years in business that it's just the same thing but in a slightly bigger scale in a different way? Is it always like that? Do people like these business owners need to accept that they've always got to have an eye on cash flow, they've always got to get new customers and get revenue in? That's just part of the game.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that will change your life is getting an FD, like a proper finance director that's better than your accountant that you actually that you use to do your books. So and that could cost you a lot of money, but that will change your life.
In what way? What if how?
Well, they raise the finance.
So you actually let them.
They deal with your bank manager.
Got you.
But an FD wants to go and work for a business that's maybe 6 million plus.
Yes.
And they'll probably be earning more than you.
Yeah.
And most people can't. But that investment for 2 or 3 years will pay. I always say, well, you're happy to invest in a property. Why don't you invest in someone that's going to be really beneficial to you as a business? There's different types. You've got bookkeepers, financial controllers, accountants, and then FDs. So usually businesses of the size have bookkeepers.
Yeah.
They don't have a financial controller. They use an accountant that they see once a month. That helps them, or they 3 or 4 times a year.
But leadership versus management, there is a crossover, but you need to have a clear understanding of who's doing what within your organisation. Without that structure and those understandings, and everybody needs to know who does what, but without them in place, you run the risk of clashing with everybody. And by the time you know it, you're struggling, And if you leave it really too late, that's when it's too late to actually change anything. So everybody be self-aware, set the expectations, clearly define the roles to everybody, and make sure everybody's following them and is sort of pulling in the same direction.